Hey everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, my sensorimotor journey, but specifically the number one belief system in all sensation-based fears. Whether you have sensorimotor OCD, also known as somatic OCD, also known as hyper-awareness, really the title doesn't matter, it just gives you insight into what is basically going on. There's a fear present, which is driving this hyper-awareness cycle. So this can be breathing, blinking, swallowing, salivation, heartbeat, bladder sensations, depersonalization, derealization. You can apply these tools to the sensations of chronic shame and guilt. And I'm going to talk about this, which is the fear of fear. If you haven't seen anything on fear of fear, go to our acceptance playlist and watch our videos on fear of fear, how we break this down, because there is a lot of stuff when it comes to how to break down the fear of being stuck forever. I got my new coffee here. Well, I love you to the moon and back. I had a pretty large black coffee at the meeting this morning. I probably don't need this one, but what do you know? This coffee's from Ethiopia. Super cool. Random fact. So before I get started, please subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below. The sensorimotor videos have been getting so much great engagement. I get a lot of DMs basically almost every day now about people talking about sensorimotor, saying they see my videos. I appreciate the support, and I hope my information has really been helpful because of my journey with sensorimotor, which primarily was salivation, swallowing, a little bit of blinking, breathing here and there, hyper-awareness of my thumbs, hyper-awareness of my belt line because of my body dysmorphia, so it kind of played directly into that. So if you haven't seen my videos before, basically this is my story. My name is Nick. I'm from New Jersey, born and raised. I came from an Italian family, so there's a lot of yelling in my household. I joke about that a lot. I went to school, undergrad and graduate school in Florida, so I lived in Florida for 10 years. It's very humid there. So once I graduated, I decided to move to Colorado. And when I moved to Colorado, my sensorimotor journey had been in effect for about 6 months. It started with tinnitus. I had severe tinnitus-based fears for about 3 months. I barely slept. Then I kind of realized I was running from the sounds by not listening to headphones, not using knives and forks, not driving with the windows down, always checking my ear against gradients to be like, is it coming from this? Is it coming from inside my head? Compulsively going to the audiologist, compulsively watching the American Tinnitus Association website videos and all this other stuff. And I remember listening to a guy one time who worked with, I think he was an audiologist, and he said, oh my gosh, I had tinnitus for 3 days one time, and it was the worst thing ever. And that really kind of triggered me because I believed it really was. Once I realized that the sound itself wasn't the problem, I really thought, as many people do, I said, wow, I'm in a great spot. Until it morphed into my saliva and swallowing and blinking, which lasted for 2 years plus at a very intense rate. That's when I went to the mental hospital. It's important to say that most people will not need to go to the mental hospital. The mental hospital can be beneficial at certain times, but much, much, much less than we think. I've talked to many people like myself who have gone to the mental hospital, come out working on recovery, even to recovery, and said, wow, that was a lot of reassurance. It's not anyone's fault. If you don't work with OCD every single day, and you more than likely have never experienced chronic OCD, your chances of understanding it are just as low as someone who understands book-wise how to start a business versus the person who's actually ran a business with 200 employees, fired, hiring, ups and downs. That person will have the best insight. Experience trumps everything. It's very hard for people to hear that, but it is the truth in many ways. Not saying people who don't have OCD, there are people out there who give good advice, but the majority is coming from the people with the perspective of the experience coming out the other side. And that's for many things in life. So when I became extremely stuck with sensorimotor, I fell into the pitfalls of what all of us do, right? Avoidance behaviors, compulsive avoidance behaviors, reassurance seeking for my wife. My reassurance seeking came in the form of, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be stuck for the rest of my life? Am I going to be able to go through with my career? I would always say that I don't want to be here and I want to end my life. I realized that I kept saying that on a daily basis because I was looking for that vent. I want to get this off my chest. We don't have to get anything off our chest. That doesn't mean compulsively not speaking about it. There needs to be a balance. OCD sufferers are really good at saying, oh, well, you're telling me not to talk about it? I'm never going to talk about it. Black and white, the keys to success, long-term moderation, is to drop all black and white type of ideologies. Nothing is black and white. Absolutely not. There's one thing, and that's death. Death is black and white. You will die. You will 100% die. When that is, I don't know. So back on track to what we were saying. So I had this belief system And I didn't know it at the time. I started reading the books on the reading list when I came into OCD recovery. I was in a pretty bad way. I wasn't working. If I was going to work, I was leaving early or going in late. I was never present, which I'll talk about in another video. You can't force the present moment with any OCD fear. If anyone's telling you to use grounding techniques, they have a place in life. They have absolutely no place in sensory motor. You have to get used to not being present, allowing your sensations to be in the forefront, distracting you. You have to allow that to be present for as long as possible as you break down the fear. So my first line of attack was I needed to bring down my avoidance behaviors, which were not going to work or leaving work early, constantly looking for reassurance from my wife and saying I didn't want to be here, chewing on gum, ice cube, and bottle caps. Chewing compulsions are very common. Compulsively scrolling social media, compulsively sleeping. I really only sleep 6 to 7 hours a day. I'm pretty active. I'm pretty much a go-getter. I didn't do that. I was sleeping 15 hours a day. I had to stop playing video games. That was a huge part. There was a large part where I wasn't sleeping at all and only playing video games. I was drinking more, smoking vape. I had to bring down all these behaviors, which took me a couple years to really eliminate all of them. Compulsively watching pornography, compulsively just avoiding my sensation any way that I could. I couldn't sit alone. I thought I couldn't sit alone. So if I would be watching movies, I would be kind of be like, doing stuff like this all the time and stuff, really fidgety, which to the untrained eye doesn't seem like a big deal, but you're not getting anything past me. I understand sensory motor very well because of my own personal experience. So once I started to bring those down, then I had to start deconstructing the incorrect, irrational help that people non-maliciously are giving sensory motor sufferers. Mistake number one. Oh, everyone breathes. It's okay to breathe. That's a self-reassurance statement. And while there is some truth to that, if you're walking around all day speaking to yourself, that's a compulsive avoidance because you think you can escape in the moment. It's a common misunderstanding. I've made this mistake many times. You can't do that. Yes, everyone breathes, everyone salivates, swallows, their heart beats, they blink, all of that stuff. But that's not the reason you're stuck. The reason you're stuck because you are afraid, you, me, Nick, that if I notice my sensations for the rest of my life, that my life is 100% absolutely ruined. 100%. I'll never be able to be present. My life is ruined if I notice this for the rest of my life. It's very understandable why you think that. When you're in the sensory motor cycle, it's very, very much 24/7. You can't escape it because that sensation is inside you. All OCD is OCD based off of fear. Cycle continues because of the irrational beliefs, compulsions, and avoidance, but every single fear has their own particular way to go about it. Sensory motor, for an example, does not need outward exposures. You're going to breathe for the rest of your life. Can you meditate to your breathing 15 minutes a day? Is there a place? Sure. Can help you detach from the sensation in a way, not detach by running, but okay, I can notice my breathing. But that only will get you so far. I personally didn't use that tactic at all. I just broke down my beliefs, brought down my avoidance behaviors, and lots of time and patience. So that was really the first myth, that you could talk to yourself in that type of way and self-reassure yourself that everything's going to be okay. But if that worked, you wouldn't be here watching this. The second myth is that the number one way to recover from sensory motor is exposures. Outward exposures are very necessary for, say, a magical thinking, where there's lots of rituals, contamination OCD, where there's a lot of avoidance. Sensory motor is the complete opposite. Your sensation is the exposure. It can only get you so far. It will be with you for the remainder of your life. So breaking down the fears of being stuck for the rest of your life is the major thing that we want to work on. Now let me pull out a piece of paper here. I'll draw a couple things on here. I'll use a highlighter to see a little bit better. So in the cycle of all OCD type fears, right? And this, if you want to learn more about this, I just did a video in the first book. It should be up today or coming up soon, how to break down those belief systems. So every human, when it comes to an emotional disturbance, has an A plus B equals C scenario going on. So A is activating event, okay? A is activating event, B is your belief system, and C is your consequence. And inside your emotional consequence, you have emotions and you have behaviors. So there's two parts. Now this particular one I'm drawing is the unhealthy cycle. So this is the unhealthy cycle. Now what most people believe, most common, is that A equals C. This is something that we all believe. It's conditional. So most people think A equals C, which means the event is the primary reason why I'm depressed. You made me mad. I heard today in a meeting, I heard this woman say, hey, Bob, you made me mad. Bob didn't make you mad. You made yourself mad. Nobody can give you emotions. They can help, but they can't manifest emotions in you. Your belief system is the reason that is. And the way how you disprove the A equals C myth that we all believe until we're taught this, so you can't hold it against anyone, is if 100 people got into a car accident, A, and so 100 people got into a car accident, same way, same position, same angle, not all 100 people would have the same emotions and behaviors. 12 of them might be like, oh my God, my car, I use my car for work. 17 of them might be indifferent. And the rest of them might be like, oh my God, I hate my car, new insurance money. The activating event is the same. The belief system, which is based on background, preconceived notions of belief systems, cultural background, economic beliefs, religious beliefs, good versus evil beliefs, all those beliefs are perpetuating the emotions, which in my opinion is primarily based off luck, chance, who you're around, nothing to do with karma, nothing to do with fate. I'm a big believer in pure science, harsh reality. I don't believe in anything after death. I think when you die, nothing happens. I don't think life has any external meaning except for the meaning that you give it, which doesn't need to be respected or liked by anyone. If you want to see me go into a lot of depth on that philosophically, comment down below right now and let me know. So back to what we were saying. So this is what most people believe. Most people think A, sensorimotor OCD, equals C, depression, anxiety, depersonalization, derealization. What they're missing is the belief. So most people think the activating event, sensorimotor, equals C, emotions, behaviors, avoidance behaviors, compulsive behaviors, reassurance seeking. They're totally forgetting this B. And the B, and I'll write this on the back, that way you can pause it and take a picture of this. The B, the belief is this, okay? If I know this, I'll put XYZ so you can plug and chug anything here. If I know this XYZ sensation, okay, forever, this is really key to cover. Remember, it's forever equals life ruined. It's a common belief. Many people believe this. So that's the belief. If I know this XYZ sensation forever, my life is ruined. But what I had to do was, in time, I had to take that black and white overgeneralization belief system and I had to turn that into a preference. And that is the key. So bring this up one more time. And that preference looks like this. I would prefer to recover from OCD. I would prefer if I didn't have OCD. I would prefer if I wasn't chronically hyper-aware. I don't need a deadline. I don't even need to recover. My goal right now is to change my relationship with my fears, bring down my compulsive behaviors and avoidance behaviors. Whether I become less hyper-aware is just a byproduct of my acceptance of my state of being. I always like to use in sensorimotor. Think about someone who has a chronic condition where it's never going away. And they have it for 10 years until they die. And year one, it's all about, the symptoms are the same. Remember, the symptoms stay the same the whole time. Oh my God, this is terrible, the worst thing ever. And as time goes on, they become more accepting of it. That helps create some distance, even if the symptoms are never going away. Maybe they realize, wow, I have this chronic nerve pain, but I can still walk, I can still talk, I have my vision, I have my arms, all these other great things. I could still enjoy this lovely coffee right here. And that's how I actually start to break that down. Now, I wouldn't have been able to do this if I wouldn't have read the books on the reading list, especially the first book on the reading list, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything, Yes, Anything, which has exercises in every single chapter. So always remember, the activating event is the sensation. Breathing, blinking, salivation, swallowing, heartbeat. Any other sensation, hyper-awareness of your anxiety, GAD, panic disorder. Even though the breathing and blinking ones are with you forever, it's still a fear of fear. It's still the fear of noticing your sensation forever. The C, the consequence, remember, is two parts again. You have emotion, so panic, anxiety, depression, depersonalization, and derealization. And then you have those behaviors, the compulsive avoidance, reassurance seeking, Googling, feeling that you need to get things off your chest. But the most important thing is this belief system. And that belief system is, if I know this XYZ sensations forever, my life is ruined. And then we rewind it so you can hear me talk about the preference. Now, when you're turning this to a preference, you have to ask yourself 3 major questions, which come from the book, page 96, 97, first book. If you want to know where to find the books, OCDrecovery.com, underneath the resource tab. They are, where is the universal principle to prove this belief? Can I really not stand it? And what is the benefit if I gave up this belief, even if I didn't feel better? So let's say you continue to feel hyper-aware for the rest of your life, but you gave up the belief and you still feel back from time to time that it's not horrible, 100% horrible, but it's frustrating. You'd be able to create some distance between that, and I really think you would see some big benefits. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I think this is a great video. I can't remember the name of the person. I think it was Milo who suggested this video. This is a great topic. Thank you so much, Milo. This is for you. I will be doing shout outs for people. So if you want to see a video in Sensorimotor, anything, and go back and watch my other videos, because I have covered this now like 20 times, and I will cover it forever. This is really key. So you got to read the books on the reading list, practice the exercises. You don't have to self-reassure yourself. It doesn't work. You don't have to focus too much on the exposure of the sensation. The sensation will be there. It's learning how to wear it like an uncomfortable coat, back to work, birth of your children, vacations, walking your dogs, any place you don't want it to be. It will be there if you really, really hate it. And the last thing I want to cover is, don't go into this. It's a mistake. You will do this. The mistake I made was going into this as another tool. Like, I'm going to do this so it definitely goes away. Now I look at this a little bit different. I think this stuff, which I still apply to many things in my life, work-related, relationships, non-OCD-related stuff, when just frustrations. And I think, how can I change who I am? How can I be more analytical, not in an OCD analyzing way? How can I look at something from a rational perspective? Digress and say, what am I doing that's not good? What am I doing that's good? Reevaluate, go forward, make another mistake. Life is about mistakes and then forward. Like, people think it's like this. They make one mistake and they're good. Life is a series of mistakes, looking at the mistakes you made and moving forward. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're interested in any more of our webinar services or coaching services, please email info@ocdrecovery.com, and we can go from there. I'm more than willing to help break this down with everyone. That's what I do in my private coaching, and I hope to see you there. Thank you so much, guys, and as always, have a great day.